I welcome you to the Catalina Foothills Unified School District Candidates Forum. I'm Barbara Becker, your moderator for this evening's event. I do not live in, have children who live in, nor vote in the Catalina Foothills, so I'm here as a totally neutral party. Assisting me this evening from the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is our timekeeper, Sue DeArmond, our question sorters, Linda McCabe and Sherry Springer, and our question gatherers, Stovey Wells. The League is an all-volunteer organization that is committed to educating and assisting the public in a nonpartisan way to understand issues and candidates. When you sat down, you noticed you had a pencil and a 3x5 cards on your chair. If you have a question or questions for the candidates, please write them on the cards and raise your hand. Someone will come and get the card and give it to the sorters, who will pass it on to me eventually. We sort the questions to ensure that we do not repeat one that has already been asked, perhaps in some other form. Tonight, 5 of the 6 candidates are with us. Unfortunately, Brooke Airspy can't be with us tonight because of a family emergency. So, due to the fact that we have so many candidates, there are time constraints. In other words, we don't have all night to ask questions. So we're going to be limited on the number of questions that formally get asked. I apologize up front if we're unable to get to your question. I need to explain a few things about our process. The candidates have already agreed to abide by our rules, and we ask the same of our audience. First, I ask you to mute your phones, put them away. Do not record or video any or all of this forum. Right now we are live streaming, and you will be able to go on the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson website in the future and get a recording of this video. So please do not record any or all of this. Second, you'll notice Ms. DeArmond raising signs. The signs are being held up to tell the speaker how much time they have left to speak. Should the candidate continue after the stop sign has been raised, I will stop the speaker. We want to ensure that everyone has the same opportunities and the same length of time to speak. Third, each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their platform, 90 seconds to respond to a question, and 2 minutes to conclude. We will rotate who goes first with each question. Last but most important, we ask the audience not to clap, yell, or create any noise during the forum. We will all do that at the end of the forum. If you do insist on creating noise during the forum, you will be escorted out of the room. So please refrain from applauding or booing or doing any of the things we like to do. Now, let us begin the forum by each candidate having their 2 minutes to tell us about themselves and why they're running for office. We'll start with Jacquelyn Davoli.
Hello, thank you. I'm Jacquelyn Davoli. I'm honored to be a governing board candidate for Catalina Foothills School District. If elected, I look forward to serving my community in this manner. Children have a right to public education, and we have an obligation to ensure they receive the best well-rounded education we can provide. That obligation is a duty and commitment to our future. The education and curriculum decisions adults make today on behalf of children have far-ranging impacts that go beyond a student's time in K-12 education. I'm a parent to a 2024 CFHS graduate. My family chose CFSD via open enrollment, then moved into the district. We sought out CFSD for the robust academic, arts, and extracurricular programs it employs to educate the whole child. CFSD fosters a learning environment that's open, accepting, inclusive, respectful, and challenging for each individual student. Its commitment to educating the whole child via holistic, high-quality education has earned it a well-deserved reputation of excellence. As a CFSD parent, I loved every minute I spent volunteering in support of education. It allowed me to interact with the schools in a unique manner. It was time well spent and incredibly rewarding. As a citizen who believes in the power of public education, I feel so fortunate my family was able to choose CFSD. As a governing board member, I would continue and grow CFSD's tradition of excellence so all children and our community may benefit for years to come. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Tom Logue.
Thank you. My name is Tom Logue, and I'm a candidate for CFSD Governing Board. I moved to Tucson with my family 4 years ago, and when we were looking at where in Tucson we wanted to live, our top priority was the education of our children. And the more research we did, the more we knew we could draw a pretty clear line around one school boundary, and that was CFSD. That was 4 years ago, and since then, every interaction we've had with parents, with teachers, with staff, with the district has affirmed for us that that was the right decision. I'm an actively involved parent. I was the Manzanita Family Faculty Organization president from 2022 to 2024, volunteered in other schools as well, as did my wife. Service is just part of our culture as a family. The FFO presidency was also an opportunity for me to build relationships with parents, with teachers and staff, with the district, and really understand some of the inner workings of the school district. When my daughter was promoted from Manzanita to Orange Grove, I decided it would be weird to keep hanging out at Orange Grove and trying to run meetings, or at Manzanita. So instead I looked around and said, how can I serve now? And this board opportunity entered the conversation, and that's why I'm here today. I'm here running because I think it's important for the voice and experiences of an actively involved parent of current CFSD students to be represented on the board. And I'm going to be a district parent until 2031. So what I want for the district is to continue the same excellent education that my children have experienced so far, and to see that continue for them and for all CFSD students to 2031 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Bart Pemberton.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Bart Pemberton. I'm running for school board, and I'll tell you why. CFSD is a great school district, and I want to keep it that way. I'm a third-generation Arizonan, and the Catalina Foothills has been my home for almost 30 years. My wife and I met here. We raised our children here. I'm an owner of a small business here. I'm an eye doctor and optometrist. All of our children attended CFSD schools. Our eldest had a great K through 12 experience. She started at Manzanita, went through Orange Grove, and graduated in 2023 from the high school. However, in addition to the academic programs, she loved the music program. The music and band programs are second to none. However, what motivated me to run for school board is that I realize CFSD is a great school district at risk and in decline because the current board has yet to give a fair hearing to or have a conversation with concerned parents and guardians. And instead of a laser-like focus on excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts, it's instead focused on areas best left to the parents, thereby giving the impression that they know better than the parents what is best for their children. Nothing good can come from such a mindset. It can only lead to declining academic performance and social discord. To reverse this trend and to improve the learning for all the children, I want to be elected and have the board honestly and effectively partner with parents, improve school safety for all the students, faculty, and staff, and make CFSD teachers the highest paid in the state. If you want a board member who will listen to the concerns of parents and guardians and will not attempt to supplant their vital role in the raising of their children, and who will do what he can to ensure that the schools remain places that focus on excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts, then you should vote for Jennifer Repscher and for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Repscher.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I hope this forum gives our community an opportunity to get to know the candidates a little bit better. My name is Jennifer Repscher, and I am excited to be running for Catalina Foothills School Governing Board. A little bit about myself. I'm a born and raised Tucsonan. I've lived most of my life in the Foothills community. I did attend K through 12 in District 16 at Sunrise Drive Elementary, Esparro Canyon Middle School, and I graduated from Catalina Foothills High School. I was lucky enough to marry my high school sweetheart, and once we started our family, we knew that the Foothills was where we were going to raise our children. Our oldest daughter also attended K through 12 in District 16, where in fact she came across some of the same teachers I had in school. She graduated with honors from Catalina Foothills High School in 2023, and she's now in her second year of college. We're so proud of her accomplishments and can't wait to see what the future holds for her. I'm a small business owner, formerly an owner-operator of a medical spa that I opened in my early 20s, and now a local realtor for over 9 years. I am invested in this community. And with 2 generations having attended our public schools, I'm committed to the future improvement of our district. I decided to run for school board when I realized that parents, just like you and I, were being left out of the conversation about issues that affect our children. You see, the role of a school board is to provide strategic direction, oversight, and leadership to ensure that the district delivers high-quality education to all of its students. That's what we're missing, true leadership, someone who guides, inspires, and motivates our district to reach its goals. I would like to strengthen school safety, engage with parents, and focus on student achievement and academics. I hope to bring respectfulness and true collaboration to our district's governing board. Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Jackson.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. My name is Eileen Jackson, and I'm running to fill the 2-year opening on the Catalina Foothills Governing Board. I've served on your board for 12 years, and I have framed every decision I've ever made as a board member through the lens of what will increase student achievement. When evaluating any program, policy, or initiative that comes before the board, I ask myself, will this be good for kids? This lens of student achievement has guided me in the current board to prioritize staff and teacher compensation. I simply want the best and the brightest in the classrooms with our students. I support as many dollars as possible to reward their expertise. Over the last 5 years, we've increased teacher and staff salaries by nearly 23% and 33% respectively, and we currently offer the highest salaries for teachers and salary structure amongst our competitors in the area. This lens of student achievement led to my vote to increase the number of counselors in our district to provide the supportive services our students need to do well. With this vote, CFSD greatly increased our student-to-counselor ratio on all of our campuses, bolstering the work our teachers already do to meet the academic, social, and emotional needs of our students. The lens of student achievement is why I support the district's investment in the Great Beginnings program and other professional development programs for our staff. Students thrive when their leaders are learning alongside them, and our staff has continually told us how important it is to them to have an opportunity to collaborate and develop themselves. These are just some of the examples of how my and my fellow board members focus on what's good for students and have translated that into programs that benefit our kids. I'd like to keep working to maintain CFSD on its trajectory of excellence, and I ask for your vote on November 5th.
Thank you. Okay, the first question, we'll start with Tom. What do you see as the main role of a school governing board member?
Sure. When I look at what a school board member should be doing, and collectively what the board should be doing, it comes down to directing strategy, saying what is the direction that the district should be taking, designing accountability around that strategy so that it's clear to evaluate, are we doing what we should be doing, and if not, what steps need to be taken. And then, of course, the budgeting piece, evaluating and approving the district budgets. So those are the top roles that you would expect from any board member, and certainly from me.
All right, Bart?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, what do you see as the main role of a school governing board member?
Yeah, I would definitely to determine what the overall direction the school district should go, and to determine that, the best way to determine that is to be collaborating with parents and residents of the district, and then through listening to them and having conversations with them, deciding what the priorities are, and then implementing those priorities by having a proper superintendent hire.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, so I would agree with the two other candidates. Part of the board's job is, again, strategic direction, oversight, and leadership within our district. We do need to incorporate our constituents within that discussion. And when we're dealing with issues that parents and community members want to bring up, then it is part of the jobs board to participate in that open dialogue. Of course, budget is a big portion of what the school governing board is in charge of. I think our district does a great job with managing our budget. We do have a small community. We have a great set of parents and community members, business owners, who do volunteer and donate towards our school system. So I would say that is some of the big points of what school governing board should cover.
Thank you. Eileen, do you want the question?
Sure. Our main responsibility as a board member is to set the strategic course for the school district. That includes devising a strategic plan, identifying what the goals and the missions of the district is, and choosing a superintendent who believes in those goals, believes in that mission, believes in that dream that we all have for our students. One of the most important things a governing board does is choose that superintendent, guide that superintendent, and evaluate that superintendent against the goals that we have set for that person. CFSD has been extremely fortunate in the talent that has populated our superintendent positions for the last 28 years, and now under the new administration of Dr. Bartlett. Our role is a policy-setting goal. We don't get involved in operations. We set the general policy, and we monitor adherence to that policy. And then, once again, budget, we are responsible for allocating the resources in such a way that we are pursuing the strategic goals of our district.
Thank you. Jacquelyn?
The board's responsible for setting the strategy for both today and the future, because the decisions it makes today will have long-ranging impacts. The board is also responsible for budget review and approval. Most importantly, the board is responsible for holding the superintendent to account to their goals and making sure that the superintendent is adhering to their goals and plan for the district. The board's role is also oversight, strategy, and planning, and review and approval of policy.
Thank you. This next question, we'll start with Bart. What particular experience or skills have prepared you to serve as a board member, in light of what we just said?
As an owner of a small business, I have to make a payroll every month. You have to have, you can't be spending money you don't have. And when you have several employees, they depend on you to make the right decisions, because if you don't, they may not get paid. And as the owner, you're paid last. At least that's how it should be. So I'm very intimately aware with the need to make sure the numbers add up. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, I think I might be the only candidate up here today that can compare and contrast the education through District 16 from two generations. I think that can bring a lot of insight and recommendations for ways to improve our school system. Not to mention, yes, as a small business owner, there's a lot that you have to manage. Budget is certainly one of them. But also within my industry in real estate, my goal is to complete the transaction, right? We have buyers, we have sellers, and the common goal is to make sure we negotiate on behalf of not just our client, but to ensure that we come together on an agreement that everyone is happy with. And with that type of experience, I think I can really be an asset to our school board to help bridge the gap between non-communication and communication within our community.
Thank you. Eileen?
Okay. Well, it's a little bit meta, but I think that my 12 years of experience on the board prepares me to be a board member. But over and above that, I have just a basic love for this district, for what this district did for our 3 children. I learned this district inside out as a very involved volunteer, as a parent, while my kids were in Sunrise, Orange Grove, and the high school. I was the FFO mom, I was the FFO president, I ran book fairs, I did the whole shebang with volunteering from the inside out. I also did a lot of advocacy work outside of the school district with the Arizona Education Parent Network. We were a group of parents that got together to try to advocate for a dedicated funding source for public education, to get more money into the public education system. I felt at the time, 12 years ago, that those 2 combinations of volunteer experience really prepped me to take on this role as a governing board member. And again, my 12 years of experience, I understand the budgets. I understand the laws under which we operate. I understand the difference between the role of a board member and the role of a parent volunteer. And I understand the importance of transparency and operating in the public and listening to parents, listening to other constituency, and making policy that works for all. Finally, I have a desire to work collaboratively within the district with our superintendent to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacquelyn?
I'm a lifelong Tucsonan. I was educated in public schools from kindergarten all the way through graduate school. After graduate school, I went to work at a little company known as Raytheon. While there, I got a vast experience over 13 years of how to navigate complex organizational structures, how to manage programs, how to team with others, how to collaborate, how to get things done, not on time, but early. I left Raytheon to start 2 small businesses with my husband. I understand the struggle of meeting budget. It's just him and I. If we don't do so, we don't get paid either. I understand the importance of client touches. That translates into working with our community and our parents. I understand how important it is to be responsive to parents, clients, whomever comes to our door. I feel that in my time managing these businesses, I've learned a lot, especially how to be integrated with our community, to listen to questions and demands of our clients, and that's translatable to understanding what our school board needs and listening to parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Sure. I think I would point to 2 experiences, or 2 sets of experiences. I am the only one of us here who is currently the parent of students at CFSD. That is in and of itself an experience. And every day when we have these conversations at the board level, and I go to board meetings and I hear talk about things like safety or things like curriculum or any of the other concerns that we have, these are things that I'm experiencing as a parent on the other side of every one of those decisions. That matters a lot, and I won't pretend that I speak for all parents. No one can. But I have a very in-depth understanding of the parental perspective on all of these decisions that are made. So that's one piece. The other is my day job. So my day job, I'm a market researcher, and I literally do 2 things for a living. One of them is I interview people. I listen to people to understand what they believe, why they believe it, why they feel the way they do. The other part of my job is analyzing data, big data sets that I can go into and extract meaning from to help my clients make decisions. So when you think about those 2 different sets of experiences, the skill of listening qualitatively and quantitatively and living every day the experiences of a CFSD parent and family, I think those qualify me.
Thank you. Okay, this question we start with you, Jennifer. What do you think is the biggest issue facing the school board and how would you address it?
Sure. Sure. I think it all comes down to parental involvement. As I speak with parents who currently have children in district, parents who have pulled their kids out of district, and parents whose children have already graduated, the common topic of concern is a lack of involvement from parents who have complaints or issues. Of course, families who only have positive experiences are understandably great cheerleaders for CFSD. And it's heartwarming to hear the impact our teachers and programs can have on our students, myself and my oldest daughter included. But we cannot forget about the families with grievances. No matter the topic, many parents have felt left out of the decision-making process. Unfortunately, some teachers and staff have experienced the same lack of communication when addressing the need for support and the need for action within their particular school. Our district seems to be experiencing an erosion of true inclusivity. Parents are made to feel that if you don't like it here, you're free to send your kids elsewhere, which is the choice many parents faced with this scenario have done. Rather than address concerns head-on, our current board has a pattern of disengaging and moving on to the next plan of order. As a small community, the board, superintendent, principals, and administrators should set the example of what true communication looks like, which means promoting all the great our district has to offer and addressing the issues that affect our families. We have some brave and engaged parents. Let's not lose any more to a lack of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
I would say one of the biggest challenges that our school district, and all school districts actually face these days, is the teacher shortage that is widespread and across the state, across the country, actually. So we're not alone in this. An effective board member must work on creating CFSD as a destination district for the best and the brightest staff members. That is why, as a board member, I continue to work on increasing salaries, improving the benefit package, investing in our professional development programs that keep our teachers happy, that provide them with mentors for new teachers. We continue to study the climate and the retention of our staff so that we can identify opportunities to do better. We are in the process of trying to expand our recruiting sources. There's a lot of people retiring from the teaching profession and not a lot of young people who are trying to join the teaching profession. And a lot of that has to do with low pay, low respect in the job, the fact that public education is somewhat of a whipping boy for every societal ill that exists. Everybody wants respect in the job that they do, and right now that's sorely lacking. So we need to find ways to counteract that, bring people into the education industry, and make CFSD a destination district. Our reputation does draw the best.
Thank you. Jacquelyn.
I'm going to take a step back from directly talking about CFSD and talk about what I think is the biggest challenge facing not just CFSD, but all schools in the public sphere. And that's appropriate, consistent funding. Everything else flows from that. The cuts made during the 2008 recession have yet to be restored. And in order for that to change, our state legislature is going to need to change and value public education more. As a result, the burden has been placed on local taxpayers, and our community is now forced to make up the difference that our state does not provide through fundraising, FFOs, bonds, and overrides. A challenge for any school district, for any business, is consistent, reliable, dependable funding. You don't have that, you can't make long-term plans. You can't retain the best and brightest employees. You can't count on having buses that work. You can't count on having teachers that want to come work for you. The voters have spoken loud and clear on this. It's time for our state to act. And considering how well CFSD does with the challenges it faces, I'd say CFSD is addressing this challenge very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
When I think about the most important issue that CFSD faces, I put myself in the shoes of a student. And when we think about the purpose of CFSD, it is to create an environment in which our students can become well-rounded individuals, whatever that looks like for them. We're not all in this room sitting here as A students, certainly, and that is not a definition of success that applies to all of us, but every student, every person has a definition of success that applies to them. CFSD's most important role and focus is centering around those pathways to success. That includes teachers. It includes making sure that we have the best teachers. It includes a welcoming and inclusive environment so that our students are able to learn. It includes providing a safe environment so that our students are able to learn without stress. But when we take that focus and look at all of those as dimensions and look at the end goal is what are we doing to put students first?
Thank you. Bart?
Yes, I believe the single biggest issue facing CFSD is a lack of genuine partnering with parents in the community. And that's reflected in the fact that at least a third of the children, the school-age children that live within the district attend school elsewhere. Now and half of the student body is open enrolled. So thank God for open enrollment, or the district would have imploded. But there's a reason why there's such a high level of children that live in the district that don't attend anymore. And what happens if open enrollment becomes 60% or 65%? That could end up being a big problem, because all the overrides and the other local bond measures that are paid for by the residents, the property owners in the district, we could lose support from them really quickly. They would say, why are we're paying for children that live outside of our community, so I want to avoid that. And so I see that as a big problem. And one way, I think, to bring more of the children back to the school is going to be town halls and conversations with parents and district members. Thank you.
Thank you. And unfortunately, sorry to answer the next question, which goes to you, Eileen, to start.
Okay.
The Catalina Foothills School District has lost students to alternative options at an alarming rate. We are approaching the day when more than half of the student body is from out of district. Can you describe your mission to attract in-district students to attend our schools? And if not, at what point would a downsizing in capacity or strategic combination with other districts come into question?
Okay. So there are any number of reasons why a parent chooses to send their child to a different school than a public school in their district. There can be a parent wants a religious education for their child. A parent wants a child wants a specific sports program that maybe we don't offer. Maybe they want the really small class sizes that are available at some charter or private schools. There's a million reasons, and every parent has the right to choose where they send their child to school. That's what the state of Arizona is about, school choice. That said, we do need to understand why some of our students do leave CFSD and go elsewhere. It's important for us to study the reasons for that, so that we can then evaluate those reasons and determine whether or not there are differences or changes we can make in our system that comport with our philosophy of education that might bring some of those kids back or cause a family to choose in the first place to go to CFSD. And that is why our current board, for the last several years, has worked together with our superintendent and our administrative staff to study those reasons and try to understand what, if any, changes need to be made to our programs to attract more of our students. School choice works two ways. We draw students from over 30 different zip codes. We have students from all over this city and Green Valley even that choose CFSD. And honestly, once a student becomes a CFSD student, they are a CFSD student, not an open enrollment student.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacquelyn.
As Eileen mentioned, parents have choices. Some parents might want a religious education for their child. Some parents might want to homeschool. That is the way we are going in the state of Arizona now. To understand why people leave CFSD, we need to understand what gaps there are. Having attended multiple board meetings over the last couple of years, I can tell you the district and the board are very interested in learning why parents are leaving. It's a superintendent's goal this year to try and run that information down. They can study and evaluate how our district can retain those parents and try and make updates and changes to the programs within the confines of what's allowed in a public school education to attract those students back. And as Eileen said, it does go both ways. Having been an open enrollment family myself, I understand the value of the programming that CFSD offers. For Amphitheater School District, we were a family that left. But again, school choice allows us all to make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Sure. My first reaction to any statistic is to go, well, why is it that way? And the why, I think, is really important here, okay? There are families who choose to send their students elsewhere. Why is that? And I do also point to the superintendent's performance goals for 2024-25, where that is a stated goal to reach out to families that have made that decision and discover why. So that, I think, is a great first step. But I think it's also important to note that CFSD cannot be all things to all people. No district can, no institution can. So we have to recognize that there are people who are going to choose a different learning environment for their students. I had a conversation with a mom just the other day who was extraordinarily busy because she has one child at the Catalina Foothills High School and another one at a different high school because she's chosen different environments for her different children. That's great, and that is what choice is all about. So I think the more impressive story here is to then step back and go, well, if we are seeing that group of families making other decisions, how is it that we're still at 5,000 students? And that's because we have a net influx from all of our neighboring districts. We have 30 plus zip codes of families that are saying, I want a CFSD education for my child. And I think that's the more impressive statistic here.
Thank you. Bart?
Well, I think I'll try not to repeat what I already said. I didn't realize I was already answering the next question. But there can be many reasons why, and good reasons why, people decide to have their kids go to other schools. So having the choice is an excellent thing. But one of the things that I think is critical is there's going to have to be more honest discussions in town hall-like meetings with the board. There needs to be stuff that gets placed on the agenda and discussed, and not just, hey, here's a group of parents that have a concern. We can't talk about it because it's not on the agenda because of the open meeting law. Okay, please put it on the agenda. Nope, sorry, not interested. That has consequences. That has consequences. So I think that's something that needs to change yesterday. People are always going to people always have legitimate disagreements. People of goodwill on both sides can disagree. But if you're not allowed to have even a conversation, if the board is just there like five sphinxes and just we're silent and we're listening, but we're not talking and we're not going to respond, that does not build a sense of community. It destroys community. And so that's what I think could be a potential solution, or at least part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, well, I'd just like to say that we are a family that definitely appreciates Arizona's school choice. Not only did we get to utilize open enrollment for our oldest daughter in Catalina Foothills School District, but we then made a decision to make a different choice for our youngest daughter. And the reason, I'll give one of the reasons, instead of having to do a little research. We left because of overreaching policies in 2020. Our youngest was starting kindergarten, and it was super important for us to make sure that she had an in-person education so that she could thrive the best possible. And we're thankful that we made that decision. Now, along those lines of overreaching policies, there's also been a lack of concern and communication between parents that have left. I did not get asked the questions, why are you leaving? I did not get any follow-up. No one was looking to figure out why did not only a Catalina Foothills graduate and oldest daughter who graduated as well, why did you pull your youngest daughter from District 16? So once again, we need to focus on parental involvement, and we need to make sure that all voices are heard and try to problem solve within the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Guess what? We get to start with you, Jacquelyn.
Okay.
Could you support a board decision you did not vote in favor of? Why and why not, or why not?
That's the essence of democracy. It's compromise. It's everyone giving up something for the greater good. We're all entitled to our opinions and our beliefs. But if the majority makes a decision that they feel is in the best interest of the district, and I was in the minority, then yes, I would wholeheartedly support whatever the board decided.
Thank you. Tom?
Of course, again, that's part. You're not a team of one when you're on a board. You're a group of 5, and I like to see when there is disagreement, and often there is disagreement or discussion at board meetings during the working sessions. Sometimes the votes still end up 4-0 or 5-0, but that's not without agenda items being pulled and discussed and often bickered over a little bit. And that's really the point of a board, is to represent not just one view of what the district should be, but to have those conversations and to have those disagreements and then say, at the end of the day, majority rules.
Thank you. Bart?
Oh, yes, definitely. You usually aren't going to have unanimity, though at least at the board meetings that I've seen, I've never seen dissenting votes, but there could be other stuff happening that I don't see at other meetings or stuff like that. But definitely, it's a good thing to have back and forth. And yeah, you don't want someone having sour grapes because the vote didn't go their way. I mean, that's just petty. So that's part of working together. And I have business partners, and we don't always agree on everything, but it's like, okay, it's all right. It's good. So, yeah.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yeah, do you mind repeating the question?
Sure. Could you support a board decision you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
Oh, absolutely. I very much appreciate diversity of thought. When you get a group of individuals together to try to work or problem solve an issue, it's best. More brains are better than just one. So there is certainly no ill will to a vote that didn't go my way. That's part of the process, and that is part of communicating with each other on the board to make the best decision possible for our students in CFSD.
There's no other way to answer that question, absolutely. And for 12 years, I've been voting on measures. We don't always agree. We do try to get to consensus. That is the essence of our first and second reading process, so that we can talk about a policy, we can tear it apart. I don't know that we bicker, but we do argue collegially back and forth about how a policy should read, how it shouldn't read. Those things come back to us. People can walk away for 2 weeks, think about it. It comes back to us for a second reading. And I will say that most of our decisions are unanimous, because in that board meeting and in that series of 2 board meetings, we hash it out. That said, there have been times when I have not agreed with a final vote, and it is the essence of a governing board member's job to support whatever decision comes out of that panel of 5. And that's what I will do and have done.
Thank you. Okay, Tom, we're going to start with you this time. What steps do you think the school board should take to ensure the safety of the students while in school?
That's a great question. And it's certainly top of mind right now. In general, over the last couple of weeks, for me in particular, because this morning I was sitting in a meeting at Orange Grove with a presentation from Pima County Sheriffs where they were describing all of these steps that are taken at Orange Grove specifically to keep students there safe, and the strong partnership that the school and the district have with Pima County Sheriff. That was a really educational experience for me to see just how connected we are with the Sheriff's Office. And that is first and foremost, I think a big piece of the safety is knowing that partnership is there, but also knowing how much of any safety relies on parents and community. And one of the things that was emphasized greatly today was, if you see something, say something over and over again. And if you see it, call 911. This is not a time to share. This is not a time to repost. This is a time to report. So we went through a very extensive meeting this morning that is going to be repeated across all of the other schools so that every parent in every CFSD school has an understanding of what that partnership looks like with the administration at their specific school.
Thank you. Bart?
Yes, definitely Orange Grove has been the most recent, and I heard about the Zoom meeting, but I wasn't able to listen in on it because of work. But I know that the parents that I've spoken to after the last board, or it may not be the last board meeting or the board meeting before, they're very, very concerned. And they were very concerned with poor communication coming from the district and from the school. And so it's critical that these concerns be addressed. It's critical that the parents are fully looped in, because their most precious treasure are their children. So if there needs to be, I think, a thorough review top to bottom. There needs to be a very clear chain of communications. There were parents that I spoke to said they got contradictory texts, then it went dark, and they were dropping off their kids, and they said, wait, there was a problem and you guys didn't tell us, or then you told us there was a problem and we didn't hear back. So, and I know these things are, I'm not trying to point fingers or say, oh, everything was bad. I mean, it's a chaotic thing, but definitely there needs to be a thorough, comprehensive review that everybody's in on and everybody knows what it is, so that there's no misunderstanding or misapprehensions. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, so I am encouraged by this listen and learn within the school district, just like Tom brought up. And unfortunately, yes, school safety has become a top priority for many parents and guardians and community members of Catalina Foothills School District. Both external and internal threats are top of mind for many students and parents. And recently a petition has been circulating asking for a safety town hall so that an open discussion can take place to acknowledge and address and problem solve any current safety practices and create more comprehensive actions regarding security measures. I think that's a great idea. It's a great option to be added to another great option is to add a dedicated professional security specialist for the district. They could collaborate with the board, with parents, with teachers, staff, local law enforcement, to create a more up-to-date set of protocols. Parents would like a voice in the decision-making on how to handle physical harm, including bullying and student violence. Arizona passed a bill, the School Safety Program, allowing schools to apply for state funding for safety-related personnel and initiatives, which include social workers, counselors, and, of course, security resource officers. We didn't apply for this the first go-around, our district, but hopefully when the application opens up again before the end of April 2025, we can apply.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eileen?
So the board, our administrators, our teachers, our staff, all of us prioritize student safety. And honestly, the district is on top of this. You know, due to the trust of our taxpayers, we started investing in this quite a while ago. Over almost 2 years ago, we commissioned a complete safety audit of every single site within our school district. And the board and our district administration committed $5 million of our last bond issuance to meeting most of the requirements within that audit report that made sense for our school district to do. We have a very multi-layered approach to safety, physical barriers, controlled access to buildings, SROs, a really strong partnership with our Sheriff's Department that was on major display this morning at Orange Grove. And if you are a district parent and you hear about the program that's going to be scheduled at your school with the Sheriff's Department, I urge all of you to go. You'll be very, very pleased with the partnership that's on display with the Sheriff's Department. We have vigilant adults on campus who want to do nothing more than keep your kids safe. We've increased the presence of our counselors, and they play an important role in understanding who our kids are and identifying kids who might be in trouble, who might be in danger of making the wrong decision. Emergency plans are continually updated every time there's an incident somewhere in the country or an incident within our school district. These aren't visible because making them visible make your children less safe. Thank you.
Jacquelyn.
We all have a role to play in school safety. That includes parents, teachers, administrators, and even students. We need to be working with our students so when they spot something that they feel is problematic, they feel comfortable and safe to seek the guidance of an adult. One way we can do that is to have more interventions and counselors available on our campuses so that our students have a more familiar relationship with their counselor. Security measures aren't always visible, too. I remember last year, the first time I went to pick my daughter up at the high school for a doctor's appointment. Imagine my surprise when I had to be buzzed in and there was plexiglass there. That was surprising to me, but I was glad to see it. I'm sure there were other measures that were taken which I was not aware, and I'm comfortable and fine with what might be happening behind the scenes to keep our kids safe, because if we publicize those plans, then we're doing a disservice to those plans we create. None of these things mean that security is lacking. It just means it's a team effort, and we all have to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Bart, you're going to start with this one.
Okay.
What should the board do to improve parent and community engagement that the district is not already doing?
Town halls, conversations where you have questions and answers from board members. That needs to happen. That needs to happen. And it can't be, sorry, we can't talk about it, it's not on the agenda. That needs to end yesterday. That's what I do. And then you can have, if you get enough parents and district residents there, you could then, like in Marana, they have a town hall that they do, and then they break out into groups and they do what they call a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And basically, you get good community feedback, and then the board comes away much more informed because they're hearing from their actual constituents, the parents, the district residents, the guardians of the children. And then they can learn stuff because we can't possibly know everything, right? We got to have humility and say we don't know what everybody necessarily wants or what everybody thinks, or we could be surprised. We could think X is a problem, and then the majority say, no, X isn't a problem, Y is a problem. Oh, okay, why? Okay, let's find out what that is. So these town hall really needs to happen, and it needs to be on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Yeah, well, maybe we introduce a new policy within Catalina Foothills School District. I've definitely heard of parents asking for more well-defined policies. We could approach that with implementing a parental notification policy, just like Temecula Valley Unified School District in California. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can adopt a policy and procedure from another district. This policy seeks to quickly inform parents or guardians of any changes that students would like to make that differs from their official or unofficial records, inform parents of any physical harm or bullying their child may have witnessed or been involved in. These are just a few examples of what parents would like on notification. It's a way to get them involved in communicating with the school and the school with the parent. This policy is meant to provide procedures designated to maintain and in some cases restore trust between the school district and parents. This way, parents can be brought into the decision-making process at the earliest possible time. We need to promote communication and positive relationships with parents and move away from the policy of, if you ask, then we will tell you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eileen.
Okay. I'm going to push back a little bit on some of the criticism about public comment in a board meeting. I've heard this criticism that it looks like we're not being responsive. I can give you examples, from very recent examples, about responding to public comment, whether there's discussion in a board meeting or not. Recently, we made recommended changes to the teacher performance pay program. A teacher came and she made comment. We went back to the second reading and it resulted in a completely different policy change than was originally recommended. We made changes. We had public comment regarding our immersion program at Sunrise Drive Elementary School. Parents concerned about the changes there. Before I even had a chance the very next morning to follow up with the superintendent on that, the principal at Sunrise Drive had already created a parent committee staffed with teachers, parents, administrators to try to look at some of the issues facing that immersion program and improve recruitment. There have been a myriad of suggestions from parents, either at board meetings and through interactive emails with me, regarding safety suggestions following the incident at Orange Grove. All of those suggestions are on the table. What I'd like to say is that lack of agreement with a suggestion does not mean that we are unresponsive. I don't necessarily agree, especially if it's against school philosophy, if it's against expert advice that we have, or if it's against the law. Those are not the types of suggestions I, as a board member, are going to be responsive to. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacquelyn.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. What should the board do to improve parent and community engagement that the district is not already doing?
After 11 years in the district, I feel that the communication is actually pretty great. I've never sent an email that wasn't responded to. In fact, I've actually not wanted a teacher to respond right away. I want them to take some time away and not feel like they have to be Johnny on the spot. The public can address the board at any meeting. Their email addresses are published, so you can email them. And you can't just add things to an agenda ad hoc. I understand people feeling that they want the board to address their issue right then, right there, but that's not allowed. Communication is a two-way street. As a parent, I can tell you, not every parent is paying attention to the communication that comes out from the district. It takes involvement on both sides. The district has taken steps lately with a new messaging system to improve communication. And in the future, I believe it will become even more robust. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Sure. I think the part of this that I struggle with is the piece that says that the board is not already doing. Because as a parent, I can tell you it's remarkable the level of involvement and the level of communication that is in place. There is literally no aspect of my children's education that I cannot get all the detail on I want and more. The district website itself is a wealth of information. I've found board members to be extremely accessible. In fact, there's usually at least one at every FFO meeting, so you don't even have to email them directly. If you're involved with your school, that's an opportunity not only to get to know staff and the principal and teachers and other parents, but also to have access to those board members. Curriculum decisions, policy decisions, all of those things, you can go to board meetings as I do and listen to those and see the agenda and make public comments as anyone is open to do. And the idea of a town hall is actually something that is happening and has just happened. The superintendent runs listen and learn sessions, first internally with staff and now most recently with parents, to have exactly that kind of open discussion about parental priorities. That is being extended with a survey that is available to every single CFSD parent so that every parent can have their voice heard.
Thank you. We're going to start with you, Jennifer. In your opinion, what action should parents take if they find out their child is encouraged to use an alternative name and pronoun at school?
What action should a parent take? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, what, in your opinion, what action should a parent take?
Well, that very much solely rests on the interaction of the parent and child. That is a subject matter best suited, dealt with the family internally, and that is up to any individual family whether that value is held or not, and that's where it should stay.
Thank you.
Can I have you repeat the question? I'm not sure I understood it.
It's really a toughie, the way it's worded. In your opinion, what action should parents take if they find out their child is encouraged to use an alternative name and pronoun at school?
Well, I don't necessarily understand the premise of the question, because it's not a situation where a kid is at school and some adult on that campus is encouraging them to, I guess, change their pronouns or change their name. It's not what's happening in our schools. If a student comes to one of a trusted adult on a campus and says, I'd like to be referred to as they, them, instead of he or him or she or her, a teacher will honor that request, but a teacher will also have a conversation with that child to let that child know that if a parent inquires about this, they are not going to keep this information from parents. And teachers will also, and counselors will also, encourage those students to have those important conversations with their parents if they feel safe and that they can have that conversation with their parents. I think it's important to preserve this idea of a trusted individual on a school campus, because not all kids can go to their parents with some of the things that they're worried about, and they need to be able to speak to a trusted adult on a school campus and know that they're going to be listened to. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacquelyn.
For me, it boils down to how involved is that parent in their child's life? How trusted is that parent to that child? If a child is choosing to use a different name or a different pronoun, I would think that their parent would be aware if they're truly involved in their lives. If a child is encouraged at school to change their name or their pronoun, it goes back to having a trusted adult in your life. Teachers and our community need to be respectful of a student's right to their own identity as well. This is not something that should be a secret or held in confidence, and parents have a right to know how their child wishes to be addressed. But that doesn't mean that we should immediately turn around and fire off an email or make a phone call to a parent without understanding what's going on, that a child doesn't feel comfortable to engage their parent in that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I kind of struggle with this one as well, because I'm putting myself in the shoes of as a parent, if my child came home and said they were being encouraged to use a different name, my first question would be, encouraged by who? Because there's a very distinct difference between being encouraged and having a teacher or staff member being receptive of a child's own preferences. And if I were to hear that, I would talk to my child about their preferences and would encourage them to use whatever name, whatever pronouns they felt most comfortable using, and encourage them to be open with their friends and with their trusted adults at school.
Thank you. Bart?
I guess it does come down to who's encouraging the child. A lot of parents would think that surveys given to kids without the parents' knowledge or consent is a way of encouraging the children to change their names. But the most important trusted adult for any child, until proven otherwise, is his mother and father, or her mother and father. So anything that gets, any policy or practice that gets in between or has the potential to get in between the parents and their children it is potentially very dangerous. And the school there should not be, basically the school's policy is don't ask, don't tell to the parents until they're asked. And I think that's a problem. I think the school has an obligation, that they're minors, these are children. They're not, if you have a 10-year-old, you don't let your 10-year-old eat candy all the time. You say, no, you're not going to eat it. We know what's best. We're the parents. So I think we just have to be very careful that there has to be communication with the parents, and they have to be assumed to be good parents until proven otherwise, and not assumed, well, the parents might be awful. Well, that can be true, but it has to be assumed innocent until proven guilty.
Thank you. Eileen, we're going to start with you.
All right.
What is your position on unisex bathrooms and locker rooms at school?
Well, the district has a pretty specific non-discrimination policy, and that applies to every aspect of a student's life, including their use of any kind of shared facilities within our school district. Our policy treats all students the same. If any student has a difficulty or discomfort with using a shared facility, they only need to approach a trusted adult and say, I have a difficulty with this, and they will make an accommodation for that student. That said, all of our facilities have privacy options. They are stalled. Our locker rooms have bathroom stalls if children are changing out for PE or for a sport. Our children are not required to change for PE for any kind of a sport. The point is that there is as much privacy within a locker room or a bathroom as a child chooses to seek. Our goal is to respect the rights of all students in our district. There have been suggestions that we require specific students to use the staff bathroom or a different facility, and that is the very definition of unequal treatment in our district. And it goes against the law, and it goes against expert medical advice on how to deal with these issues. Those are two things that I will not do and will not advocate for our district, to violate the law and to go against expert advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacquelyn.
Regardless of how I as an individual feel about this issue, we have to follow the law. That's just the way it is. We can't subvert state and federal law. The district also treats students equally, and that's also a very good thing, and well within the confines of the law that we have now. Having had a child in the district who went through the band program, where it was chaotic at best when getting dressed in and out for a performance, I can tell you, as a volunteer watching all of this happen, none of these things were an issue. It never came up among students. If it did, I'm not aware of it. I'm not a fan of sending students to special facilities. It others them. It sets them apart, and it goes against an inclusive school environment. All of our students should be treated respectfully and equally. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll also point to the district's non-discrimination policy that is in line with settled law, and have read the court cases behind that. But I think there's a couple of bigger issues to touch on here. One is, yes, encouraging an inclusive environment so that every student feels welcome. The other goes back to one of the basic responsibilities of a board member, which is not to put your district in legal jeopardy, not to end up committing to spending tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees because you just personally don't feel like a certain policy is okay. Part of the responsibility of a board member is fiscal in nature, and that means following the law even if you disagree with it out of your personal beliefs, because your job is to keep the district financially sound. That said, my personal beliefs are very much in line with the district's non-discrimination policy, so I would have no problem continuing those current policies.
Thank you. Bart?
Well, I'm not so sure about the settled law part. I know a lot's being adjudicated. So a lot of the stuff is still up in the air, at least from what I can understand. But I think in the end, it really comes down to school safety and, again, parental involvement and consent. The policy, the non-discrimination policy, is very broad, and nobody was aware of that, that it says, okay, I mean, basically, if they want to have, or it's basically not told to parents when they enroll their children. There's no knowledge. You have to find out by asking. I think that's kind of a problem. They should maybe the board should come up with a black and white policy that says, here's the practices that we have at the school. So, and we will allow 18-year-old men to share the same, use the same facilities as 14-year-old girls. Maybe they should put that in the policy in black and white and let all the parents know that that's a potential outcome. And that way everybody knows going in and they're not surprised and they don't find out after the fact. And to give you an example for why we have to look at school safety, I mean, here's just a few headlines from a search, and this is some of this already a couple of years old, but adult man exposes genitals to 4 14-year-old girls in the school locker room. That was in 2023 in Wisconsin. There were 2 girls raped in Virginia. 2023, man allowed to use girls' bathroom assaults minor girls. 2023, California, nude adult.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
So I keep hearing the topic of following the law. Well, the law states that schools can continue to separate bathrooms, locker rooms, and athletics by sex. So, in fact, that is allowed. I am a female. I have 2 daughters, and I will absolutely advocate for their safety and well-being within the school system. I don't believe that allowing the mixes of sex in bathrooms and locker rooms and athletics is a positive change. It's not moving in the right direction. And I do believe that Bart is correct. If our school district wants to have a policy on open bathroom usage, then we need to create an actual policy and bring parents and community members within this discussion, put this on the actual agenda, because this is a big deal to a lot of parents. And in fact, some parents have left the district for this reason alone, or have not enrolled their children within the high school for that very reason. Once again, with this open bathroom policy, this makes you wonder what can happen when we have general events at our high school. Football games, band concerts, theater. That includes anyone, adults, being able to use any restroom they want, whether there's a minor in there or not. I don't think that's a safe policy, and I think we really need to look at that.
Thank you. You'll all be glad to know this is the last question we're going to ask tonight. And we'll start with Jacquelyn. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on this governing board?
I'm really glad to be asked this question. I chose CFSD for my family. I'm incredibly committed to this district. When I first considered running for the governing board, I did my work. I did my research. I tried to understand what was going on in the district. I attended school board meetings regularly. I haven't missed a board meeting as a public member in almost a year and a half. I spoke at public comments to make my voice and opinion heard. As my daughter was approaching graduation, I thought, what am I going to do now? I've spent all these years, all these countless hours volunteering in support of not just my daughter's education, but every CFSD child's education. That's when I thought, you know what, there are other ways to make a difference in my community and with students. And that's when I decided to run for school board. For me, it comes down to service and commitment to my community and its future. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Could you repeat the question, please?
You bet. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on this governing board?
Thank you. For me, this is very personal. As I mentioned earlier, I'm class of 2031. The issues that motivate me to run are my own 2 children and the experiences that I know they share with all the other children in CFSD schools. Having an environment that remains student-centered and student-focused is my top priority, and it is what motivates me not only to be as involved as I am with my own children and their education in those schools, but to want to continue that with a position on the governing board.
Thank you. Bart?
Yes, I think I've already alluded to it in my opening statement, but basically, CFSD is a great school district. I want to keep it that way. And because I see storm clouds that have gathered and more behind them, rather than just complain about it, I want to stand up and try to do something about it constructively and not just complain and moan. So, thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yeah, well, one of my main interests is within student achievement. I've had, again, the pleasure of going K through 12 in District 16 and then watching my oldest daughter K through 12 in District 16. And I absolutely noticed a difference between my education and her education. And after doing some research and really taking a look at numbers, I realized that right around that 2014, 2015 timeframe, our proficiency numbers definitely started plummeting. Prior to that, we're in the 80s. We're 90th percentile for math and English language arts. I was a part of that group, and as we see the numbers decline after 2015, we went into the 70s, 60s, and now we're in the mid-50 percentile for math proficiency. That's not the CFSD that I graduated from. I would like to make improvements, do some research, figure out where issues have occurred within that time frame. We need to revise our curricula if need be. We need to involve parents and make sure that they are a part of the whole process. So student achievement is one of my main focuses, and I'd like to see that back to numbers prior to 2015. We deserve it.
Thank you. Eileen?
Well, I am compelled to run for the governing board again after 12 years because I love the district, and I love all of the wonderful things about this district. The caliber of our people from the top on down, the huge diversity of our programs, the challenging academic programs, the stellar fine arts programs, band and theater, the wide array of AP and CTE courses, the robust menu of sports and clubs for kids to take part in, immersion and world language programs, and a district that is committed to maintaining the breadth of that curriculum for our students. Our district never cut the arts, PE, as though those things were extras, even during the worst of the budget crises starting in 2008. We have always considered these things to be core to our mission for students. I also value the collaborative relationship between the board and the board's superintendent. I simply want to continue to be a part of the system that does so much for our kids, that did so much for my 3 children, so that it can continue to offer those great benefits to all future CFSD students, and that's why I am compelled to run again. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to have their concluding statements, and we'll reverse the order. So we'll start with you, Eileen Jackson.
Well, I'll say it again, I love this district. I've loved being on your board. I started to worry about what I was going to do on Tuesday nights if I didn't run for this 2-year position. I have loved being part of CFSD's important mission to graduate students who can transfer their learning from learning to life beyond CFSD, to their college careers, to their professions. The CFSD that does indeed partner with parents to achieve this and invite parents in to play an integral role. CFSD has an enviable level of parental involvement within our district. We are the envy of other districts in that respect. I've heard things tonight about CFSD failing students, and I don't understand that with 7 A-rated schools year after year after year. The high 95, 94, 95% graduation rates of our senior classes. Top test scores, yes, we were affected by the pandemic in much the same way every other school district was, but our scores are rising, and our teachers' goal is to dive in and figure out how to increase student achievement and erase that gap. The millions in merit scholarships that our senior classes earn every year, $16+ million alone last year. and a community that trusts us. If the community didn't trust us, they wouldn't be passing every single bond or override measure that we've placed on a ballot since we built our high school in the 1980s with bond money. We have board members who focus on kids' needs and value all kids. CFSD is a shining example of what public school districts should look like, and it's well-positioned to address the challenges of the future that come our way. And I want to thank you for your consideration and for your attention tonight, and again, ask for your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Repscher.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again to the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson for hosting this forum. Thank you. And I would like to counter a little portion of what she just had to say. I don't see any of us discussing our school failing our children. We should be judging ourselves not based on other districts, because clearly we are well above Southern Arizona districts in comparison to Catalina Foothills, but we can judge ourselves based on previous scores, based on previous accomplishments. So to that, tonight all candidates have come together to answer questions that affect our school district. Our district needs more of this, collaboration, and a respect for all parties involved in the education of our children. We don't all have to agree on everything, and we don't all have to have the same opinion. But when these differences are all brought together with the same common goal of District 16 providing a top-rated education for our children, we can be effective problem solvers without creating an us versus them mentality. All of us sitting up here are part of Catalina Foothills community, and we're proud of that. Let's also remember that parents play the most important role in their child's life. We are their first educator. We instill the values that matter most to us. We care and love them more than anyone else on this earth. Let's remember that parents are the experts when it comes to their children. And we trust schools that when we lend our children, and we trust that when we lend our children to the school, that the adults respect that bond. We send our children to learn. Let's keep politics and ideology out of school and focus on improving the academic outcome for the core subjects. Bart Pemberton and myself, Jennifer Repscher, are the candidates to vote for. We are committed to bringing trust in our district back. Please visit
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bart Pemberton.
Tonight, you've had the opportunity to hear from several school board candidates. You could decide for yourselves who is more committed to teaching your children how to think rather than what to think. Who is more committed to collaborating and partnering with parents of all the children so that they may each achieve the highest level possible of excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts. I know that Jennifer and I are those candidates. So please vote for Jennifer Repscher and Bart Pemberton early and where possible often, and no later than November 5th. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Tom Logue.
First of all, I just want to say it's been a pleasure. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing and moderating, to the Junior League for hosting, and to all of you for listening tonight and being in the audience. As a district resident and as a district parent, I look at our district today and I see something truly amazing. I experience that every day with my own children and the stellar academics that they receive and the exposure to fine arts and all of the extracurriculars. I am unabashedly a cheerleader for the district because I see everything amazing in my own house that the district does. I believe that the role of the governing board is to preserve that greatness. And I want to clarify that that does not mean doing nothing. This is not a matter of it's perfect, let's leave it alone. This is saying, let's look at what got us here. Let's look at the strategy, the strategic direction, the policies and procedures that have been put in place that have gotten us to this point, and then look for opportunities to make the district even better while keeping it on that same path. I hope you will allow me to continue serving our district as I have in a new role on the CFSD Governing Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacquelyn Davoli.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out here tonight. When I was gathering signatures, one of the first questions I was inevitably asked is, What side are you on? I understood the individual was trying to suss out my own individual political leanings. I took that opportunity to remind a potential voter that school board elections are nonpartisan. It's a volunteer, unpaid, 4-year commitment. It isn't about sides or politics. It's about our future, the future of our children, our schools, our community, our citizenry. The only side I am on in this election is that of students and my community. As a candidate, I'd like to remind you, the voters, of my commitment to CFSD. I will do right by our students. I will put students first. I support all students and equal access to our schools. In my eyes, all students are equal, period. I support social and emotional learning and educating the whole child. I support learning beyond the classroom in all its forms. I support strengthening relationships across schools, among grade levels, with parents, and the community. As a Save Our Schools Arizona endorsed candidate, my commitment to public education is clear. I have shown up, I have stepped up for our school district and its children. As a continuation of that service, I look forward to doing the work of the board and further supporting my community. It would truly be my honor to be elected. I ask for your vote to continue and grow the excellence of CFSD. Thank you.
The League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson want to thank you, the audience, for being here tonight so that you are informed voters. And now, let us thank our candidates for an outstanding forum.